Hello and welcome back to Talking Wanderers. Today we won't be speaking about the last game or the next game due to this very sad passing earlier this week of Gary Speed. With me today are Gordon Sharrock, who covered Wanderers virtually throughout those 3.5 years that Speed was at Wanderers, and Mark Isles, who's also had dealings with Gary Speed on behalf of the Bolton News. Alright boys, a difficult one today, of course. Earlier in the week, Gary Speed died, a player who all the fans liked. He was a real favourite, and he was a real favourite with us as well, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I think you've only got to see by the tributes that we've had both locally and nationally. Very popular player, very popular bloke off the pitch, and certainly with us guys as the press, he was always spot on. I think Gordon had a lot more to do with him on a day-to-day basis, but I crossed paths with him a few times, and he was spot on. Such an intelligent, insightful lad, and you just knew from speaking to him when he was a player that he was going to go on and take that into management, and he certainly did that and was on track, which makes the whole thing more unfathomable, really. And a very, very sad day.
Yeah, Gordon, you had a lot of dealings with him while you covered Wanderers, and he was one of those players who would never bypass you, would he, when you wanted to have a word with him?
Never, and he was always available, always made himself available, and and it wasn't just that. It was what he said and how he said it. He was very engaging, but it was very, very honest, he would always. I mean, if he'd felt he'd played poorly himself or the team had played poorly, he'd say it, and he was very much spot on in his assessment of games, and I think that the fact that he could also inject a bit of humour into those conversations that you had with him. Often self-deprecating, I mean, he was such a smashing guy right down the line.
I've got a bit of a story about him. When I interviewed him once, I was telling Mark a couple of days ago, he's the only player who I've ever asked for an autograph. It was not the most professional thing to do, and yet it didn't matter to me. A lot of people wouldn't do it. But it was a time when my daughter was collecting autographs, and I always told her, no, you can't ask for autographs from footballers and professionals. And I interviewed him. It was a one-on-one after a game, and I just felt that I could, just because of the guy he was. And I've never known anybody, Mark, a footballer, die, who nearly all the talk has been about the man. More than the player. I mean, you've dealt with him. Why do you think that is?
I think just because he had such a long career, and obviously had then moved into management as well, a long playing career. Everybody had a story to tell about him. Everybody had met him both on the pitch, but also away from it as well. And everybody I've spoken to, top to bottom at Bolton Wanderers, had a bit of an aside with Gary, and they'd go out for a meal or gone on holiday or whatever it might have been with him. But it really has hit home, and the suddenness of it and the circumstances have obviously really shook everybody around.
Yeah. And the whole business it's touched fans as well, and I think whilst he was very, I mean, there are a lot of players who are popular with other footballers and with other football managers and with other football people, but this transmitted to the fans as well, and I think you've seen up and down the country this week the outpouring of grief and the tributes that have been paid to him, spontaneous in some senses, and I mean, the guy could play. He was a terrific player. He could be hard when he needed to be, but that didn't bother the opposition fans. He wasn't a nasty player. He was no mug. He could handle himself. If somebody put the foot in, he could put his foot in. But it was never done. I mean, I don't think anybody ever had berated Gary Speed for any tackle that he made. Perhaps one or two Manchester United fans after the tackle on Gary Neville, of course. But I mean, he was well loved and well respected on and off the field, and that's what made the fella so
I mean, you
special.
said about the spontaneity of the tributes at Swansea on on Sunday, the day he died, the stadium announcer announced that they were going to have a minute's silence. And as soon as the whistle went, everybody broke into applause and chanting, didn't they? Of course, there was no... That was all absolute, complete and utter... an overspill of respect, wasn't it? An overflowing of respect.
Yes,
Nobody knew what to do, though, because, I mean, you phoned me and I had so many missed calls on my phone when I finally found it on Sunday. And, you know, just people were just cold. They didn't know what to say, what to do. And, you know, I spoke to Kevin Davis very soon afterwards, and he, you know, he just couldn't get his head around it, and I don't think anybody's gonna get their head around it really.
Absolutely. And when he came to Bolton, it was regarded to be the twilight of his career, and he went on to play 139 games, score 14 goals, and as you said in your piece on him, Gordon, the other day, he was possibly the most consistent player in the club throughout that 3.5 years.
He was always a 7. He was never any less than a 7, and you know, very often an 8, sometimes a 9. But you never got anything below a 7 from Gary Speed. And considering his age and the fact that his legs had apparently gone, or supposedly gone when he came here, I mean, he proved that completely wrong. But it was no gamble on Sam Allardyce's part. He sussed him out. He'd done his homework on him.
And also,
his
apart from
fitness
his own,
was magnificent.
Yeah, he was a real athlete, wasn't he? But apart from his own performances, was he the sort of player that he wouldn't allow somebody else to have a bad game next to him?
Only by example,
Yeah.
by inspiration, I would say. I mean, he was a good talker on the pitch, and players will tell you that when they were playing alongside him, you know, he was a big help to them. Younger players, less experienced, less able players used to enjoy playing alongside him. But he didn't grab anybody by the scruff of the neck and cajole them or anything. But I think he led by example, and he was an inspiration. And his fitness in itself, that alone, left younger players in awe of him.
Yeah, well, that's about it. Obviously, we've not spoken about the last game, we've not spoken about the next game, and I'm sure...
It's probably better.
Absolutely. I think everybody would realise there's very good reason for that. Thanks very much. Well, thank you very much for joining us this week on Talking Wanderers. Please return next week, where we'll be speaking about the weekend's trip to Spurs.